Hello, welcome to Culture Vultures. I'm Sandy Frye, your host. Our creative producer is Nancy Cole, and this is a program that examines the arts and the culture of Tampa Bay from varying perspectives. And today we have a very interesting organization and a very talented director, Sigrid Tigmore. Welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, we're delighted you're here. You're executive director of Community Stepping Stones, which I have to confess I was not familiar with before. But having heard just the tip of the iceberg in the story of its founding and its progress, I want to share it with everybody. So tell me about it. What does Community Stepping Stones do?
Well, it's actually a very unusual organization. What we provide is arts-infused programs that are delivered after school and on weekends to at-risk youth in originally the Sulphur Springs area, and our programs are designed to help them become successful adults.
And how old is this organization?
It was formed 7 years ago by a gentleman named Ed Ross. Ed is from USF, a very gifted ceramicist, but also a person with a huge heart of compassion for young people and teaching them how to really embrace their lives and make something of themselves.
Did it begin with murals? Because I know right now I've seen some of the most incredible murals.
Well, you know, they came fairly early on, but originally the youth were involved in ceramics. They learned a little bit of painting. You know, Ed is an unusual person. He's able to teach all kinds of critical thinking skills, and he uses art as the vehicle for helping young people while they're learning about the process of making decisions about art. They also learn about the process of making decisions about their own lives.
Right.
In fact, maybe it was a surprise to me when I first got involved about a year ago with Community Stepping Stones. But we have seen that young people who are in very difficult circumstances, be they economical or perhaps it's physical abuse or just in an unwanted situation, very quickly their neuropathways shut down and they are unable to learn. And these are the children that show up in school and they can't process math, they don't have any verbal skills, they just have a failure to thrive where education is concerned.
Oh, it's an interesting phrase to use.
Well,
Yeah.
it is, and it's. I know teachers out there will really know exactly what it is I'm talking about. But research has shown that the arts have this wonderful effect on these young kids. And when I say young, obviously it works at all ages. The age that we intersect them is really at that kind of tweens age, 12, 11, 12, 14, somewhere in there. And we find that when we introduce them to the arts, that right side of the brain opens up and begins to not be trapped in this kind of linear reality where they've been failing. They come at it in a much more abstract way and start to realize that they have gifts and maybe no one ever appreciated them before. And in this area, they start succeeding and they get encouraged and they learn to build self-esteem. And with self-esteem, the thing that happens is that they are now able to grasp other concepts, learn other things. And so over and over and over across the nation, there are models that show that arts is really the key to helping so many of these at-risk youth.
Yes. I've read them and I really do believe them. They're not just sort of pumping. I think there is a definite effect, and it can often lead to enhanced mathematical skills, let's say, if connected with music, or even with art, because you're still making decisions about divisions of space.
Well, in particular, that's why the mural program began. I'm so glad you brought that up, because we were talking a little bit before how unusual this mural program was. Ed brought this program to the youth originally to try and teach them rules about proportion and mathematics and precision and the whole idea of spatial relationships. And they were having trouble with things in school. They certainly were having problems with geometry and with even some of the more basic math skills. And he was able to give them more insight into this when they started to see a practical application, and arts were exactly the application for it. So that's why murals, that's how murals got started.
That's interesting. USF decades ago began just one program project, and it was to get with mural billboard companies who weren't having any ads on particular billboards, and challenging in their art students, their visual arts students, to create a billboard that had a definite message. And there was one woman who won the competition. She went on to become the director of art studies throughout the school system in Hillsborough. And I thought that was very interesting because...
Wow, what a great success story.
It was. It really was. Her brother had been in Vietnam, and she was disturbed by the fact that he had been disturbed, obviously, by it. And she worked with that, and they were just suggestions of things that she thought of and he thought of, and it was very powerful. So a mural is, you know, as you go by in a road show and just catch the message, it's going to be almost subliminal.
That's very true. Although murals have something very special that billboards don't have. Murals are a reflection of the immediate community and how they feel about themselves. You know, it's very much the difference between seeing a lovely painting in a gallery and the impact it has on you and looking at an ad in a magazine. You know, they're very different emotional responses. We have been modeling our new program that we're moving into much like a program that's got huge success in Pittsburgh. It's called the Manchester Art Guild. And over the last 20 years, they have put 2,869 murals in Pittsburgh. And out of that entire time, only 6 of them have ever been defaced.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Now, what that's saying is that the mural process, the process of young people getting up on scaffolding and painting in front of the community and painting messages that are reflective of the community, becomes a source of pride. It gives a sense of place, and it also gives a sense of esteem. Which is not only for the painter, but also for those that are the residents.
Right.
And so what we're seeking to do is, through all the things that the children learn, and perhaps, you know, you were asking me, well, how does that actually, what's the process? How do they actually learn something in this? So I will tell you that the way we construct our murals is first by having a long discussion with our client, be that a nonprofit organization or a business. I mean, we could easily do murals for businesses. Or perhaps a government, or we're in conversations right now with the health department about doing a series of nutrition and fitness murals. We see that we can have this long conversation, understand what's trying to be communicated, and how that community would embrace that message. What's the good? Where's the positive that can be created? The fit. Thank you. That's perfect.
Well, that's interesting. Of course, you are a perfect person to bring your background and to this whole project, and I'd like you to share your interest and your accomplishments in art too. I know you're speaking on behalf of Stepping Stones, but it's something that you have an expertise in, and particularly in illustration, which is a wonderful, it's a wonderful genre of art, I think.
Oh, it is indeed. And I think you're right. This is really the consummation of a lot of life experience for me. I spent 25 years running a marketing and advertising firm, and I worked as a creative director and then as the president of the firm for a long, long time. And many of the logos and brands and things that we still have in the Bay Area came out of the talent that was in that shop. After that, though, I got very engaged in economic development and branding that has to do with that. And all through this process, I have been an illustrator. I've done children's books, I've done medical books, I've done all kinds of different book illustrations. And so when I came to this place where I was able to combine my passion for art with the whole idea of an economic empowerment. Oh, and I did leave out one part. I did also get my degree in my master's in nonprofit management.
Oh, interesting.
And during the time that I ran the Patel Foundation, I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Muhammad Yunus for a while. He's the gentleman that did all the women's empowerment programs, and I worked with a variety of other very high-profile people. And of course, Dr. Patel himself is a huge believer in empowerment programs, and his wife, or I should say, Doctors Patel. They are a tremendous operating power in this community.
Yes, they are. They are. And what really impresses me about them is that they both did not forget their home, and they've built hospitals in the area where they came from, and have staffed them and so forth and so on. And I think that's an amazing thing, besides being generous.
Well, besides that,
Here.
it's very true. And they remember the arts.
That's right.
The Patels have been very kind in their investment in the Patel Conservatory and a number of other projects. I mean, most recently, I know they were helpful to Stageworks and their launch. So, but anyway, so having had that kind of background, empowerment, and then my own skills coming to Community Stepping Stones, I first got involved with them when I was volunteering as a teacher last year during the oil spill. And I was finding out none of these children had any exposure to the news that was coming on. And it's very troubling to me because I'm quite an environmentalist. And we would start having these conversations, and they would say, well, how does that affect us? Well, what I haven't mentioned is that Community Stepping Stones has this marvelous 5-acre campus at the confluence of the Hillsborough River, where the salt and the brackish water, or rather the salt and the fresh water kind of come together.
Right.
And we have all kinds of animals from the Gulf, manatees and dolphins and those kind of things that swim right off the back of our property.
Wow. Where would that be? I recently went right up to the Hillsborough, up to where the dam is, and at a certain point, there signs which say no wake, no wake.
Right.
Is it around there?
We're just before that.
Okay.
We are just about a block. If you were following the Hillsborough up north, you would pass the Sulphur Springs Tower and go under a bridge. That bridge is Nebraska, and we're just around that curve.
Okay.
So we're right there.
Wonderful.
Very easy to find, but definitely in the heart of Sulphur Springs. And so the children were very understanding when they realized this was their backyard that could be affected by all of this. So we talked for some time, and I said, well, why don't we show the president? Why don't we show the governor? Why don't we show BP what we think? And they said, oh no, we're just poor kids. And I said, no, you are the powerful voice of the future. Let's get together and at least try it. If you don't try it, who knows?
Right.
So they got together and they did an 8-foot by 8-foot public display, which has since traveled around. Many people have seen it, but it was their artwork called I Want You to Know How I Feel, all about the Gulf oil spill. And we photographed that, and together we all wrote a letter to President Obama, which we copied to Representative Castor and to the governor. The kids were amazed when immediately they got back responses from our Representative Castor, who's just been great to
She's
support
very
all of them.
responsive,
Just
yes.
wonderful.
Yes, she's doing a good job.
And of course the governor. I mean, you know, Charlie Crist was certainly a champion for environmental affairs.
He was up and down the beach there.
Oh,
I
yes, he
remember that.
was. But you could have knocked those children over with a feather when they got a package from the White House.
Oh, really?
And it was a very, very thoughtful letter. I mean, I'm sure, you know, the president had some aide that was helping him deliver an appropriate message back, but it was very personal and congratulated them on being environmental ambassadors. And we've had it framed, and they thought that was great, but the thing that impressed them the most, of course, was the photograph of the dog that came in the package.
Oh, that's right, the dog.
Yes, the dog,
Yes,
you know,
right.
so you know, there's some things that just transition all barriers.
That's
but,
right, absolutely. Oh, that must have been a terrific moment for them, and a moment of success, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
I bet it never occurred to most of them that they could do something that merited a response, and a positive response.
And I'm sure they won't forget that. The next time something affects their lives like that. So it was very special. But in the meantime, we've had, you know, lots of conversations. The Community Stepping Stones board realized that times have changed. You know, if you've read Who Moved My Cheese, you know, we realize that the cheese has been moved, and arts programs, while they teach all these things, it's very hard to fund them if you don't have outcomes, if you don't have metrics that show the progress young people make. And so this last year, they asked me to come in and work with them, and I'm mostly working as a volunteer at this point, but I'm serving that executive director role, and it's really a pleasure for me because I can still do my artwork, yet spend a lot of time working with the development of this organization. And we moved ahead and decided that we were going to focus on how the arts could teach young people preparatory skills for job training. And you might say, well, now, how could that be? How could 14-year-olds start to learn about this? But these are young people who don't even know how to necessarily introduce themselves appropriately. They don't even believe that they could be more than hostage to an entitlement system. And we have worked with them on many different things. Let me show you how the murals work.
Yeah, tell me about the murals. How many have you done so far?
Well, large ones that we have won both local and national awards for. We've done 3. I mean, these are, you know, 30 by 80-foot murals.
Wow. Now, did this go into Rolette Park?
Yes, there's 2 there.
Right. Now, is that off MacDill? And you go by and you can see, is that the park we're speaking
yes,
of?
Yes.
There had been a kind of historic mural painted on one side.
Right, on the racquetball court on one side. And now, the one on one side is very masculine. The one on the flip side deals with the matriarchs of the community. So it's really quite beautiful.
Nice.
And then there's another one in Sulphur Springs on Sitka, on the old Sulphur Springs Theater.
Oh, yes.
And that one was underwritten by the National Endowment for the Arts.
Oh, terrific.
So it's suddenly at that point we started saying, you know, there are murals that could be done all over this community, and we could use them as a way to teach skills, because they will teach youth not only customer relations, they will teach them strategic planning, they will teach them estimating and the math that it takes, you know, the financial literacy skills that are important to being involved in business. It will teach them, I think I said customer relations already. It teaches them computer skills, because the youth, after they take photographs and do the research for this, then go into Photoshop, and we teach them all these classes on Photoshop, so they compile them through posterizing them. It teaches them math, because then they have to proportion out the artwork that's been approved by the client so that it goes into a large area. And then it teaches them fortitude because they have to get up every morning and show up and
right.
do the work.
Do the work. Well, it's marvelous that they're getting a technological education as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I was thinking of, silly me, I was thinking of, you know, Da Vinci's school, where he had all his assistants and make a big cartoon, you know, and then he would come and do something that he'd done, and it was the master's touch. But we've advanced a lot from there. So they are doing everything on the computer.
Well, they are doing a lot of the design
Yeah,
work
the design
on the
work, of
computer,
course,
and we felt
yeah.
that was essential. In fact, we are looking now to expand because we have a whole computer teaching room, and we are looking to expand that, and we would also like to teach them web building. Which I think is a very critical skill. Remember, we're also teaching them photography.
Yeah.
So they are, you know, use digital cameras and they learn how to work this, but if they do web building, now we have to get them into more of the language arts.
Sure.
And so
it's marvelous.
So all these things
Transitions
that they can be
right into the
creative.
21st century so well.
Exactly. And one other thing I wanted to just also toss in here, we also are beginning this fall a program called the Artist's Studio. And we have contacted well-known artists all throughout the area and asked them to participate. And we're going to be offering courses. They'll be anywhere from a half a day to 6 weeks long courses that will market in the community. Individuals can sign up for it. It can be everything from architecture to painting to silk painting to basket weaving to ceramics. I mean, a whole variety of skills. And our students are trained to become teaching assistants in these classes. In other words, they're protégés under the masters.
Terrific.
And they are paid a stipend, just as the people doing the mural are paid a stipend. So the young people are learning about money, they're learning to make money, and they're learning to control some of their money. And at the same time, they're going to learn to teach, and they're going to learn to clean up. Which is very important. And but all these programs also additionally produce income for community stepping stones so that we can perpetuate the program.
Have you found any talent? I mean, really, somebody with a true eye, a good eye,
we do.
Sense of design?
We do.
That must
we
be
have
a
a
terrific
couple that
feeling.
are. There is one young man that we keep trying to. We're keeping our fingers crossed, but we want to get him into professional art school, and he's very, very good. But, you know, we also have one young lady who started in the program when she was, I think, 13, 7 years ago. She's 20 now. She's graduating from HCC with her teaching degree. And she's going to come back and teach at Community Stepping Stones.
Oh, that's very nice.
So
she's
it's a
giving
real
back.
coming back and, you know,
Yeah,
giving back
giving
into the community that gave her a chance.
Well, so then when you have the actual painting process, how many students roughly work on it at a time?
Well, that's a very good question. It really depends, of course, on the project itself. We just completed a mural that we did as an example down at HCC Gallery, and it is 16 feet high by about, 12 feet wide. So it's not enormous, but we wanted to have it done in 2 weeks. And we had 6 students who worked on it and did a fabulous job. It's actually now going to be affixed to the outside of our 2-story building that's on our property, which is actually becoming the mural center. So we're really excited about that.
That is nice. That's very good. Well, there are some nice statistics that are coming out of the whole project of the number of people who have been involved in the program, the number of people from Sulphur Springs community, and I should say school-age children, who are going on to higher education or technical school, or both, as compared to a much lower percentage of the same movement before the project.
Right.
Which is terrific. There are roughly, give or take a few, around 500 children of this particular age that are getting involved. and you've had quite a few.
Now that's over a multi-year period
Sure.
that they have. Right now, over a year, right now, our program's kind of changing a bit. We're really focusing now on job training skills for preteens and teens and young adults. And what we've found is that if we can get a youth involved in our program for 3 years, we can virtually assure that he or she will go on to some kind of higher education.
That's true.
Now, that higher education may involve, they may go in the military. They may go to a four-year college like HCC, or they may, we've got some that have gone on to universities like USF or Ringling.
Go straight to Ringling.
Yes, yes.
It's very fortunate that in this particular area, in Central Florida, they have a great many technical schools. They even have full sail in Orlando.
Yes.
In which you can get television training and I'm sure film training too.
Yes, yes.
So it's a rich area insofar as resources at hand, which makes this mural, and the murals are wonderful. There is a section of St. Petersburg on the way to the Tropicana, the Trop. And every time we go down there to see a baseball game, there's a new wall being painted with a scenario,
Yes,
and it's a sea scenario, and there are fish jumping all over. And I'm thinking, this is very nice. This is a pleasure to go through. Is somebody doing this?
Absolutely, and that's what we want to do. We want to be the resource in Tampa people think of when it comes time to do this. Now, to be clear, we don't just paint in Sulphur Springs. We paint all over the area. And the painting is always done under the watchful eye of professionals, and all the young people are trained months and months before they go out on a project like this. We don't just turn them loose.
Unleash them.
No. That would not be advisable for anyone. But we find that there's not enough of this going on in Tampa, and it is something that could make such a difference on so many of these blank walls that we have.
Absolutely. I often think of that, and I'm so glad you're putting this to good use because the community, the immediate community benefits, and the larger community benefits too.
Absolutely.
In so many ways, and the fact that it's fun to look at and it's so well done.
Well, may I just insert one last comment
One last
here?
thought.
One last thought.
Almost out of time.
It costs about a little over $3,000 to put a youth through a program like ours a year. But when you consider that prior to us, we were paying as taxpayers over $20,000 a year to incarcerate these young people, the investment in this kind of a social enterprise is phenomenal.
Good.
Thank you.
Very, very good. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Next time you see something wonderful in murals, chances are it comes from stepping stones, community stepping stones. And thank you for being with us. Plan to join us again.